Ladies and gentlemen, when you've been betrayed by someone close, it feels like a profound violation, a deep cut to your sense of security and trust. But it's not just the immediate pain that affects you, it's the betrayal of a belief you held in another person. You believed in them, you trusted them, and they shattered that. They chose to tear down the very fabric that tied you to them. That's not just a betrayal of trust, it's a betrayal of who you are, of the identity you've constructed with them in your life. Now they are left to live with the consequences of their own actions, a shadow of what they once were, and perhaps what they wanted to be. There is something profoundly revealing about those who betray us. The narcissist, for example, believes that the world should revolve around them, that their needs, their desires, their pain, and their ego must be the center of attention. Their actions are predicated on a lack of empathy, a self-centeredness so deep that they fail to understand the consequences of their behavior on others. They push boundaries and break trust because to them you are merely a tool to make them feel better about themselves. And once they've used you up, they move on, leaving destruction in their wake. But here's the thing, they cannot escape their own reality. You, as the victim, may feel the weight of the betrayal, but the narcissist has to carry something much heavier. The inability to ever truly connect with another human being in a meaningful way. They can never truly know the depth of real relationships because their own ego blocks them from vulnerability and authenticity. This lack of true connection leaves them empty, even as they wear a mask of bravado, constantly searching for validation from the world around them. Betrayal is a form of self-sabotage for them. They build their world on a foundation of self-deception, and that foundation cracks the moment they hurt someone they once claimed to care about. No matter how much they try to pretend, no matter how much they run from the truth, they will never escape the void they create for themselves. There is no peace for them in the aftermath of their actions, and this is where it becomes important for you, the one who has been wronged. You don't need to dwell in their world of self-deception. You don't need to chase after the approval of someone who has shown time and again that they do not have the capacity for genuine empathy. Your peace doesn't come from their validation. It comes from within you. It comes from your understanding of who you are, of your values, of the respect you give yourself to heal and move forward. Their betrayal doesn't define you. In fact, it is in this very moment that you have the opportunity to redefine yourself. You can rise from this experience stronger, more resilient, and more self-aware. Don't let their inability to find peace prevent you from finding yours. They will be trapped in the consequences of their own choices, and that is a burden they will carry for the rest of their lives. You, on the other hand, have the power to create something new, something whole, something that cannot be destroyed by the selfishness of others. When someone you trust betrays you, the emotional wound runs deep, because it cuts to the very core of your identity and your sense of security. Trust is not just an abstract concept. It is the foundation upon which relationships are built. It's the invisible thread that binds people together, allowing you to open up, be vulnerable, and share parts of yourself with another. When that trust is broken, it's not merely the act itself that hurts. It's the shattering of a belief you had about the person and about the relationship. You begin to question everything that you once believed was solid, dependable, and real. And that is what makes betrayal so powerful. It takes away the world you thought you knew and leaves you struggling to find solid ground again. What makes betrayal even more complex is that it comes from someone you've allowed into your inner world. This person wasn't just an acquaintance. They were someone you shared your time, your thoughts, and your emotional energy with. You believed in them, trusted them with your vulnerabilities, and relied on them in ways that you may not have relied on anyone else. They were part of your life's narrative, someone you pictured walking alongside you for the long haul. And then, without warning, they undermine that belief in the most painful way possible. The sense of betrayal comes not just from the broken trust, but from the loss of the person you thought you knew. The pain of betrayal doesn't just lie in the immediate hurt, it lingers far longer. When someone betrays you, it forces you to re-examine everything about the relationship. Were the signs there all along and you just missed them? Were you blind to their true nature? What did you miss? And why did you allow yourself to be so vulnerable? These are questions that surface in the aftermath of betrayal, and they can be overwhelming. The process of questioning yourself can feel like adding salt to the wound. It can distort your own sense of reality, making you doubt your own judgment and your ability to trust others in the future. But it's not just the questioning of your relationship with the person who betrayed you, it's also the questioning of your own worth. You begin to wonder, what did I do to deserve this? You might start to feel as though you weren't enough, or that you somehow failed to live up to an unspoken standard. This is the subtle psychological trap that betrayal sets. It turns the victim's focus inward, forcing them to question their own value rather than recognizing that the betrayal was a reflection of the other person's inadequacies, not your own. This process can be devastating, and yet it's important to understand that the betrayal is not a direct reflection of your worth as a person. It's an unfortunate consequence of someone else's character and choices. When someone betrays you, it's because they have chosen to betray your trust, to break the very foundation of the relationship. And in doing so, they have revealed their own lack of integrity. This has little to do with your value as a human being and everything to do with their inability to honor the bond between you. In the aftermath of betrayal, there is a kind of reckoning. A moment where you must come to terms with the fact that the person you trusted is no longer the person you thought they were. That realization can feel like a death. The image you had of them is gone, replaced by the truth of their actions. And this new truth forces you to face the uncomfortable reality that not everyone who enters your life will have the same commitment to loyalty and trust that you do. It can make you feel isolated, unsure of where to turn, and perhaps even unable to trust again. But while the emotional aftermath is painful, it also has the potential to teach you something invaluable about yourself. You will learn that your worth does not depend on the people who choose to betray you. You will learn that your capacity for resilience is far greater than you initially thought. And perhaps most importantly, you will learn the power of your own judgment and the necessity of protecting your heart from those who would seek to take advantage of your trust. Narcissism at its core is a deep and often unconscious self-centeredness that distorts how someone sees themselves in the world around them. The narcissist world is a reflection of their own ego. Everything and everyone exists to serve their needs, their desires, and their sense of self-importance. They are incapable of seeing others as fully independent individuals with their own needs and feelings. Instead, they view others primarily as tools, as means to an end. This is where betrayal becomes a likely outcome in relationships with narcissists, because they operate under the assumption that their own desires and comfort come first, no matter the cost to others. This worldview often leaves others in their wake, feeling used and manipulated without ever receiving the empathy or understanding that they rightfully deserve. When a narcissist betrays you, it's not because they lack the capacity to know it was wrong. It's because their own needs and sense of superiority overpower their ability to care about your feelings. Their betrayal is a calculated act to satisfy their own ego, to maintain their sense of control, or to elevate themselves in ways that disregard your emotions. They may have appeared to care about you at some point, but in reality, they were only invested in the relationship to the extent that it bolstered their own image, gave them validation, or served their interests. For them, relationships are transactional. They give only as much as they can take, and they take as much as they can get. The moment their needs shift, or the moment they feel they no longer need you, the mask of care and affection falls away, and they act according to their own self-interest. This self-centeredness doesn't just manifest in the way a narcissist acts toward others. It also becomes evident in their emotional void. Beneath the surface, narcissists often struggle with feelings of emptiness, insecurity, and a deep fear of inadequacy. These feelings are so overwhelming that they can never be fully acknowledged or addressed. Instead, the narcissist constructs a false image of themselves, one that is perfect, powerful, and invulnerable. This false image is what they present to the world, and it is constantly in need of validation. They rely on others to reflect their own greatness back at them, and when that validation is threatened, when the truth of their own insecurities is exposed, they lash out. Betrayal, then, becomes a way to regain control or to assert dominance when they feel that they are losing ground. It is a defense mechanism to protect the fragile ego that lies beneath the surface. For the narcissist, betraying you is not a deeply personal act. It's simply a reflection of their worldview, a worldview that doesn't prioritize your well-being, your feelings, or the health of the relationship. You are, in their eyes, a secondary character in the story of their life. They view relationships not as a shared journey, but as a platform for self-aggrandizement. The betrayal is not an isolated failure of character, but a symptom of a deeper inability to connect authentically with others. Their ego is always at the forefront, and anything that disrupts their sense of self-importance must be dealt with swiftly, often at the expense of those closest to them. The cruelty of narcissism is that, in the midst of betrayal, they often fail to see how deeply they have hurt you. They might justify their actions by rationalizing their own need to look out for themselves, or by convincing themselves that they've done nothing wrong. Narcissists rarely take responsibility for their own actions because their sense of self is so fragile that admitting fault would be a blow to the very identity they've carefully constructed. Instead, they project blame onto others, manipulate the narrative, and twist the reality to suit their needs. In their eyes, they are always the victim, always justified in their actions, and always deserving of sympathy. This lack of accountability leaves the person who has been betrayed feeling not only hurt, but confused. The narcissist's inability to acknowledge the pain they've caused only deepens the wound. It's as though your suffering doesn't matter, as though your feelings are inconsequential in the grand scheme of their self-absorbed existence. The narcissist, in this sense, is emotionally blind to the impact they have on others. They cannot step outside of themselves long enough to understand how their actions ripple outward, affecting the people they claim to care about. In this emotional vacuum, they perpetuate a cycle of betrayal that, unless confronted, can go on indefinitely. The narcissist's behavior is not a reflection of you or the strength of your relationship. It is a reflection of their inability to emotionally connect with anyone beyond the confines of their own self-interest. And this inability to connect, to empathize or to genuinely care for others is what keeps them trapped in a cycle of loneliness and emotional poverty, regardless of how many people they may manipulate or deceive along the way. The consequences of betrayal, especially when it comes from someone deeply entrenched in narcissism, are far-reaching and often painful. For the person who has been betrayed, the immediate effects are often overwhelming: confusion, hurt, a sense of loss, and even self-doubt. But the repercussions extend beyond the initial shock. The emotional toll takes time to process, as the person who has been betrayed must now reconcile the person they trusted with the reality of who that person truly is. The narcissist, in their self-absorbed pursuit of validation and control, often leaves behind a trail of emotional destruction. But what the betrayer fails to realize is that, in the long run, the consequences of their actions will weigh heavily on them. For the narcissist, the immediate consequence of betrayal might appear minimal. Narcissists are skilled at deflecting accountability, often justifying their actions or blaming others for the outcome of their behavior. They may be quick to shift projecting their own inadequacies onto the victim and playing the role of the misunderstood martyr. In this way, they avoid confronting the true consequences of their betrayal, allowing themselves to sidestep emotional growth and self-reflection. This lack of acknowledgement doesn't make the consequences disappear. It merely delays them, masking the underlying issues that continue to erode their ability to form meaningful connections. Despite their ability to manipulate the narrative, narcissists do not escape the long-term effects of their actions. They are trapped in a cycle of self-deception, constantly reinforcing the false image of themselves they have built up over time. This false image is their shield against the vulnerability and inadequacy they fear. But with each betrayal, the cracks in that image grow larger. The narcissist's ability to control others and maintain the facade of perfection may protect them temporarily, but it is ultimately unsustainable. The more they betray others, the more isolated they become. The connections they manipulate or destroy don't rebuild themselves, and the narcissist finds themselves alone in a world they have manipulated to fit their desires. One of the most insidious consequences for the narcissist is the erosion of their ability to trust. At their core, narcissists have a deep-seated fear of being vulnerable, of opening themselves up to others. This fear is a result of their own unresolved insecurities and inadequacies. As a result, they constantly project a false sense of invulnerability to protect themselves from emotional pain. But the very act of betrayal that they commit only reinforces their isolation, as it forces them to confront the reality that the relationships they rely on are based on manipulation and deceit, not mutual trust. The more they betray others, the harder it becomes for them to find genuine connection, even if they desire it. The narcissist becomes trapped in a lonely existence, constantly in need of validation, but never able to receive the deep emotional connection they crave. Another profound consequence is the narcissist's emotional emptiness. Though they may outwardly appear confident, powerful, and in control, the truth is that their sense of self is fragile and hollow. The more they betray others, the more they deepen their own sense of isolation and inadequacy. The validation they seek from others never fills the void within themselves, and every betrayal only deepens that emptiness. The narcissist may temporarily feel a sense of triumph after betraying someone, gaining a fleeting boost to their ego, but that moment is short-lived. The emotional high quickly fades, leaving them once again confronting the vast emptiness that lies beneath their facade. Perhaps one of the most devastating long-term effects for the narcissist is the slow degradation of their own self-worth. Narcissists often operate under the illusion that their worth is tied to their ability to manipulate others, to maintain control, and to secure admiration and validation. But the more they betray others, the more they reveal the emptiness within themselves. They become more reliant on superficial praise and attention, unable to derive genuine self-worth from within. The realization, though rarely acknowledged, that their relationships are shallow and transactional becomes a bitter pill to swallow. This internal conflict, though buried beneath layers of arrogance and defensiveness, gnaws at their psyche over time. While narcissists may avoid immediate consequences and deflect responsibility for their actions, the truth is that their betrayal doesn't go unpunished. The emotional damage they inflict on others may be deep, but it ultimately sets into motion a chain of events that isolates them and perpetuates their own suffering. Their refusal to take accountability, to form authentic connections, and to acknowledge the emotional needs of others leaves them vulnerable to a lifetime of loneliness and insecurity. The consequences of their actions may be delayed, but they are inevitable. And as time passes, the narcissist's sense of isolation and emptiness only grows, while the person they betrayed may eventually find healing and growth, leaving the narcissist in the dust of their own making. In the aftermath of betrayal, the path to healing can seem daunting, yet it is one of the most empowering journeys a person can undertake. When someone betrays you, especially a narcissist, it feels as though the very foundation of your reality has been torn apart. The trust you placed in that person, the belief in the relationship, all seem to crumble in an instant. In the emotional rubble, it's easy to become consumed by hurt and confusion, questioning your worth and ability to trust again. However, the process of healing from such a betrayal, though challenging, is where true personal growth lies. It is a process that takes time, but it is a crucial opportunity to rebuild not only your sense of self, but also your understanding of what you deserve in relationships moving forward. The first step in healing is recognizing that the betrayal, though painful, is not a reflection of your worth. Narcissists have a tendency to project their own issues onto others. They manipulate, lie, and betray in order to maintain their fragile sense of superiority. The victim of such betrayal often feels as though they failed in some way, that they weren't enough for the narcissist, or that they somehow invited the hurt upon themselves. This is a dangerous and false narrative. The truth is, the betrayal is a reflection of the narcissist's inability to connect authentically with others, their own insecurities, and their deep-seated fear of vulnerability. It is not your fault that they chose to act in such a way. Understanding this fundamental truth is the first step in reclaiming your peace. Healing also involves reclaiming your power. When a narcissist betrays you, it can feel as though they've stripped away your control, leaving you helpless in the face of their manipulation. The sense of control they impose over you can linger long after the betrayal has occurred, often causing you to question your own autonomy. But the power to heal and move forward lies within you, and recognizing that is vital. You have the ability to decide how this event will shape you. You have the ability to set boundaries and choose who you allow into your life. The narcissist's actions no longer dictate your narrative unless you let them. The healing process involves taking back that power, reasserting your own worth, and drawing clear lines between what you are willing to accept and what you are not. A critical aspect of healing is the recognition that forgiveness doesn't mean condoning the betrayal. It doesn't mean excusing the narcissist's behavior or pretending that what happened wasn't wrong. Forgiveness, in this sense, is about freeing yourself from the emotional weight that the betrayal places on your heart. It's about releasing the grip that the narcissist and their actions have over your peace. Holding on to anger, resentment, or the desire for revenge can keep you tethered to them and to the past. By forgiving, you are not giving them permission to continue harming you. Rather, you're allowing yourself to move forward, to stop carrying the burden they imposed on you. This is a powerful act of self-love. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to heal. As you heal, it is crucial to engage in self-care and self-reflection. Often, when we experience betrayal, we lose sight of ourselves. The pain of betrayal can cloud our vision and make us forget who we are outside of the relationship. Rediscovering yourself in the aftermath is essential. This may mean revisiting hobbies, reconnecting with old friends, or spending time alone in introspection. It may involve learning to trust yourself again, building your confidence, and reasserting your independence. Self-care isn't just about treating yourself with kindness in the moment. It's about creating an environment that fosters your long-term growth. It is a commitment to your emotional and mental well-being, ensuring that you emerge from this experience stronger, more resilient, and more self-aware. Part of this process also involves learning to set and enforce healthy boundaries. Narcissists are notorious for testing and crossing boundaries, and in the wake of betrayal, it can be easy to fall back into old patterns of people-pleasing or self-doubt. But learning to establish clear boundaries with others, whether with the person who betrayed you or with anyone else in your life, is crucial to protecting your peace. Boundaries help you maintain control over your emotional space and ensure that others respect your needs. Establishing boundaries is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of self-respect. It allows you to safeguard your emotional energy and ensure that you do not allow anyone, especially those with narcissistic tendencies, to harm you again. Finally, as you move through the healing process, it's important to remember that this journey is unique to you. There is no timeline for how long it will take to heal, no right way to process the pain. Some days will be easier than others, and there may be setbacks along the way. The key is to honor your own pace and to be patient with yourself. You will emerge from this experience more self-aware, more discerning in your relationships, and with a deeper understanding of your own strength. In the end, healing is not just about recovering from the betrayal, it is about transforming it into a catalyst for growth, empowerment, and a more authentic sense of self. Betrayal, especially at the hands of a narcissist, can feel like the end of something deeply significant, a chapter of your life where trust, love, and shared experiences were central to your sense of self. However, as painful as betrayal is, it holds the potential for something far greater than destruction. It offers you the opportunity to rebuild, to redefine, and to emerge stronger than before. It can be an opening not just for healing, but for profound personal transformation. It's crucial to recognize that while betrayal has the power to harm, it also carries the seeds of personal growth. It is not an event that defines you permanently, but a challenge that you can rise above. In the immediate aftermath of betrayal, especially by someone close to you, it's natural to feel as though your world has been turned upside down. The future you imagine with that person might now seem uncertain or even shattered. Yet this very uncertainty creates a unique opportunity to redefine your life on your own terms. When someone betrays you, especially a narcissist, they may attempt to leave you feeling diminished, broken, or undeserving of love. But this is the illusion they create to maintain their own sense of superiority. In truth, they cannot take your inherent worth from you. Their actions, though painful, are a reflection of their inability to form meaningful, reciprocal relationships, not of your value. When you rise from the betrayal, you begin to understand that it is not the betrayal itself that defines you, but the strength with which you rise from it. It is in the rebuilding of your sense of self, the reclaiming of your inner peace, that you begin to see the incredible power you possess. You are not a passive victim in this situation, you are an active agent in your own life. And while it may take time to move past the immediate emotional pain, the process of self-reflection and growth that follows is an invaluable opportunity for personal empowerment. One of the most empowering things you can do is to confront the betrayal directly and without fear. Many people who have been betrayed by narcissists often experience a sense of confusion and self-doubt. The narcissist's manipulation and gaslighting can make you second-guess your own feelings and reality. But in facing the betrayal head-on, you free yourself from this confusion. You confront the truth of what has happened and accept it without judgment. This is where the healing process begins, not in denying the hurt, but in acknowledging the reality of it, accepting it, and refusing to let it dictate your future. When you allow yourself to process the betrayal in its entirety, you free yourself from the emotional prison the narcissist tried to lock you in. Another essential aspect of rising above betrayal is learning to trust yourself again. After being betrayed, especially by a narcissist, you might wonder whether your judgment is flawed, whether you can trust your instincts moving forward. But the truth is that your instincts were likely right all along. Narcissists are incredibly skilled at masking their true intentions, making it difficult for even the most discerning individuals to see through their manipulations. This does not mean your judgment was poor. It means you were deceived by someone who made it their goal to deceive. In reclaiming your sense of self, you must learn to trust your own perception of reality again. Trusting yourself again doesn't mean you will never make mistakes, but it does mean that you take ownership of your experiences, learn from them, and use them to guide you forward with wisdom and strength. Part of this journey of personal transformation involves redefining your boundaries and understanding what you need to feel safe and valued in relationships. Betrayal often happens when boundaries are ignored or violated. The narcissist, by their very nature, has no respect for healthy boundaries because they see others as extensions of their own needs and desires. As you move forward from the betrayal, you have the opportunity to establish and enforce new boundaries that prioritize your emotional well-being, your self-worth, and your peace of mind. By recognizing your value, you set the standard for how you expect to be treated by others. This is an empowering act because it shows that you have learned from the betrayal and are no longer willing to accept behavior that compromises your sense of self. Another critical aspect of transformation is cultivating a deeper sense of self-love and self-respect. After being betrayed, it's easy to lose sight of your own worth and to question whether you are deserving of healthy, honest relationships. But the reality is that betrayal, particularly from a narcissist, is a reflection of their own emotional limitations, not of your worth. It is a testament to their inability to form genuine empathetic relationships. It is not a reflection of your capacity for love or the value you bring to the world. In the process of healing and rising from the betrayal, you must learn to love yourself fully, flaws and all. This self-love is not narcissistic. It is rooted in a deep appreciation for who you are and what you bring to the world. It is about recognizing your own worth and refusing to settle for anything less than the respect and love you deserve. The final element of rising above betrayal is embracing your own resilience. While the pain of betrayal may feel overwhelming, it is important to remember that you have the capacity to heal and grow from it. The process of healing, though challenging, helps you build emotional resilience. You develop a greater understanding of your own strength and your ability to overcome adversity. This resilience is not something that can be taken from you, and it is something that will serve you throughout your life. The experience of betrayal, rather than breaking you, can help you build a stronger, more authentic version of yourself, one that is more discerning, more self-assured, and more capable of building healthy, fulfilling relationships in the future. In the end, while betrayal by a narcissist can feel like a devastating loss, it also carries within it the seeds of transformation. It is through the process of healing and rebuilding that you come to realize the depth of your own strength, your capacity for self-love, and your ability to rise above the hurt. This is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a new chapter 1 where you take control of your narrative, define your worth, and choose to live on your own terms. The betrayal, in its painful truth, becomes the catalyst for a life that is more authentic, more fulfilling, and ultimately more aligned with who you are meant to be. In the end, the betrayal of a narcissist may shake the very foundations of your life, but it is not the end of your story. It is an opportunity for you to confront the hurt, reflect on your own strength, and reclaim the power that was taken from you. The pain is real, and it's okay to feel it, but it does not define you. Through the process of healing, you rediscover your worth, rebuild your trust in yourself, and establish boundaries that protect your peace. More importantly, you grow stronger, more resilient, and better equipped to navigate future relationships with wisdom and self-respect. The narcissist's actions were a reflection of their inability to connect authentically with others, but your response is a reflection of your own capacity for growth, healing, and transformation. When the dust settles, you will realize that while the narcissist may have sought to break you, they have instead unknowingly made you more aware of your own power and the depths of your resilience. Betrayal doesn't define you. How you rise from it does. Your worth was never dependent on their actions, and your ability to rebuild from the pain is a testament to your inner strength. What they failed to see is that their betrayal only set the stage for you to become a more authentic version of yourself, someone who knows their value, trusts their instincts, and has the courage to rise above any challenge. So stand firm in your truth, for in the process of healing, you will find not only peace, but a deeper connection to the life you deserve. You are not the victim of someone else's betrayal. You are the victor of your own journey.